All right, let's dive into something kind of cool today. You ever sink into a super comfy armchair or use a plush towel and wonder, how'd they even make this?
It's funny how those everyday things can slip our minds, right? Like we use them all the time, but the process behind them, total mystery.
Totally. So today's deep dive, we're going to unravel that mystery, specifically the world of tufting. And lucky for us, we've got RoleCatcher's career guide on tufting operators as our trusty sidekick.
Yeah, their guide is awesome. They break down this whole job, tufting operator, like what it even is, the environment, pros and cons. Super helpful.
Exactly. So no more mystery. Let's get those tufting secrets out in the open. What do they actually do, these tufting operators?
Yet it's hard tufting's kind of simple. You're basically pushing yarn through fabric using these special machines to make designs. But there's a huge skill to it,
That's what I was thinking. It sounds like more than just pushing a button.
right? Tufting operators are like the quality control experts of this whole world. Every stitch, every loop, got to be perfect. Got to make sure that rug is plush, that car mat's durable, even your comfy armchair. All of them got to meet the standards.
Wow. So they're handling different machines, different materials, and it's all got to be top notch. That's a lot of pressure.
It is. And speaking of what they do, RoleCatcher gets super specific. It's way more hands-on than I ever pictured.
No way. More hands on. I thought it was all about the machines doing the work.
Not at all. To really understand, we got to talk about the tools of the trade, those tufting guns themselves. They've got all sorts, from little handheld ones for tiny details to these massive machines for those big, bold patterns you see.
Oh, I can picture those huge carpets with the intricate patterns. So they're switching between all these different guns depending on the project.
You got it. And each one requires a different skill set, a different touch. It's way more nuanced than you'd think.
Okay, I'm starting to get a feel for what's involved. Specialized equipment, serious skills. This is sounding like a pretty intense job. What's it actually like, though, being a tufting operator day to day?
Picture this. You walk onto this bustling factory floor,
Okay, bustling, I can imagine.
and there's this constant hum of machinery, maybe even some creative energy buzzing around.
I like that, the creative buzz. So, what's our tufting operator doing in the middle of all this?
They're laser focused amidst all the action. Giant spools of colorful yarn everywhere.
I can only imagine the colors.
Oh, it's something else. And that whirring sound as the needles punch through the fabric, it's a whole sensory experience.
It's definitely not some quiet office cubicle, that's for sure. So, RoleCatcher mentions the work environment. It's pretty intense, right?
They don't sugarcoat it. They're straight up, it's a hands-on gig, usually in a fast-paced factory setting.
Makes sense given everything we've heard.
Right. And you got to be comfortable with the whole safety gear thing.
Yeah.
Ear protection, goggles, all that.
Essential stuff. Protect those ears, especially with all that machinery noise.
Absolutely. And it's physically demanding, too. You're on your feet a lot, lifting those heavy yarn spools.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. So, where do the pros and cons come in? What does RoleCatcher highlight?
They get right into it. Big pro, good pay. Like, right off the bat, you're earning a decent wage.
And with skilled trades in demand these days, I bet those salaries are only going up.
Exactly. And stability is another plus. People always need comfy stuff, right?
That's a good point. Steady jobs are super appealing for a lot of folks. But what about the downsides? They have to address the elephant in the room. Physically demanding, potentially repetitive work.
Oh, they do. They're honest about that. Can be repetitive, and that's a no-go for some people.
For sure.
But here's the thing. They also flip the script. They say that repetition, for some, it's actually calming, almost meditative. It's all about perspective.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Not wrong at all. One person's monotonous is another person's zen.
Exactly. And speaking of Zen, let's talk career growth.
Oh, yeah. RoleCatcher had a whole section on career stages for tufting operators, right? I was wondering about that. Like, what does climbing the ladder even look like in this field?
Great question. So you start as an entry-level operator, mastering the basics, getting comfy with the machines, all that jazz.
Right, finding your footing, literally.
Exactly. Then you can become a senior operator. More responsibility, maybe even leading a team.
Okay, so you move from making the stuff to guiding others on how to make the stuff.
Yeah. You handle the trickier projects, troubleshoot any machine hiccups, maybe even train the newbies, and then the top dog, the lead operator.
Oh, the head honcho of tufting.
Think of them as like the conductor of a tufting orchestra. They have this deep knowledge of the whole process, from yarn selection to machine fine-tuning.
That's amazing. They're making sure those tufting symphonies are perfectly in tune.
Precisely. They work closely with everyone.
Hmm.
Designers, engineers, the whole crew. They bring those creative visions to life.
So there's a real path to move up, which is awesome to see. But RoleCatcher also mentions certifications and stuff. What's that all about?
They stress that the tufting world's constantly changing. Always new tech and techniques popping up.
So it's not a learn it once and you're set kind of deal.
Not at all. Got to stay sharp, keep learning, adapt to the industry. It's like
Well,
that with a lot of things these days, I think.
totally. Adaptability, the name of the game. Okay, so we've got this clear picture now, right? The day-to-day, the career path. It's all about having those core skills, but also being open to growing and learning as the industry changes. All right, so we've talked about the skills, the day-to-day, even the career ladder. But what about actually landing one of these tufting gigs?
The million-dollar question, right?
Exactly. And thankfully, RoleCatcher doesn't leave us hanging. They have this whole section on interview prep, which is super practical.
Oh, it's gold. They give you the questions to expect, which is huge for calming those interview jitters.
For sure, knowing what's coming is half the battle.
Yeah.
So, what kind of questions are we talking about here? Spill the tea.
Well, they've got the usual suspects like, why this job?
Mm,
But then they get into the really specific stuff like, how do you ensure quality in your work? That one's key.
classic interview question. It's all about showing them you're detail-oriented, right?
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher gives you pointers. Instead of just saying, I'm a perfectionist, which everyone says, talk about the actual procedures you'd follow.
Right, like I use a gauge to check the stitch density or something like that. Give them the specific.
Exactly. Show them you're not just saying words, you actually know the deal.
I like it. Prove your worth. What else?
Oh, they had a good one about problem solving. Like, tell us about a time you spotted a flaw and what you did. That's where you shine and, show you take initiative.
That's huge. Not just running the machine, but actually thinking critically about the work. That's what sets you apart.
100%.
Hmm.
And the best part is, RoleCatcher doesn't just drop these questions on you. They have tools to help you nail the whole application process.
Right. They have that resume builder thing, which is a lifesaver. Who even enjoys formatting those things?
Seriously. And they link to job boards, too, so you can see who's hiring near you. It's all right there.
Talk about making it easy peasy. They've thought of everything. But this has gotten me thinking beyond just landing a job. This whole deep dive, it's really opened my eyes to this whole industry. Like, RoleCatcher mentioned the demand for tufted stuff is actually growing, which surprised me.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? People are craving that well-made, durable stuff again.
It's like a pushback against fast furniture and all that. People want quality.
Totally. They want something that'll last, something with craftsmanship. And that's good news for our tufting friends, More demand, more jobs.
Absolutely. The skills are more valuable than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads me to my final thought. With all this talk about automation, what's the future hold for tufting operators?
Oh, that's a big one. Will robots steal all the jobs?
Right. Or will it shift more towards, the techie side? Programming the machines, troubleshooting, that kind of thing.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it becomes more about design skills, too. Collaborating with the tech to create even more intricate stuff.
It's kind of exciting to think about. Those core skills of craftsmanship and all, those will always be valuable. But who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll be talking about robot tufting operator career guides in a few years.
Right. Now that's a deep dive for another day.
I'd listen. But for now, we're going to wrap up this exploration of the fascinating world of tufting. Big thanks to RoleCatcher for the awesome guide. And to you listeners, if you're feeling that curiosity bug, don't ignore it. Maybe you're the next tufting superstar in the making. Until next time, happy tufting.